All right, babe. Episode 61. What are we talking about?
We're going to talk about men's work today. The importance of men's work. I would like to personally ask you a few questions about what you do, why you do it, how that impacted your life, and how that impacts other men's life. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to do like a little bit of a Q&A or something tonight.
Perfect. You're listening to the Revive Couple Podcast. We're Michael and Laura, and together we'll explore everything relationships, personal responsibility, feminine and masculine dynamics, communication, and just some all-around real and raw conversations.
Drawing from our 18 years together with a bit of sarcasm, humor, tears, a few and lots of love, we deep dive into the male and female perspectives on relationships and navigating the highs and lows of life together. Sit back, grab your love mug, and let's get into today's conversation. Okay, so should we just dive right into the questions that I have for you, or do we want to talk a little bit about men's work? Is there anything you want to say first?
No, I think these questions will kind of explain some things, and then the other thing, a big one, is just the stigma around it, right? And
Yeah.
how you're not a man if you're talking to somebody or getting outside help. But it's funny because like it's coaching, right? And you equate it to sports, and it's like, well, I have all these great coaches around me. And professionals have like massive amounts of coaches around them, but in life and like real life and hard things, we always try to do it alone, and it just doesn't work, right? So it's a weird dynamic, or it's a weird like thought why we don't think of coaching for life too.
Yeah, I totally never even thought of it like that for men, actually.
Oh yeah, it's in, especially in sport. Like if you get into more like any kind of elite level of anything, any kind of sport, you have like very specific coaches for different things. Like you got weight training coaches, you got like a lot of hockey players have even just psychologists they talk to, or like mind, just with anything like that, right? And then your body and the team even behind your body, keeping your body good. Like a lot of people have massage therapists, physios on their own privately on top of whatever the team has. So there's so many things that are so much more goes into it than people think.
Oh yeah, then you see from the outside, and they must do like a lot of visualization and stuff like that, right?
Oh, massive. I know for myself anyway, like being a goalie in hockey, that's all you do. Like that's the big mind, right? You visualize all the saves you're going to make. You visualize everything, like before even driving to like you visualize or myself anyway, like I'd visualize the dressing room, visualize myself after the game, like high-fiving, winning, sitting there talking with people, and then kind of play it all back in reverse. So there's lots of it, like everything was visualization with it. Like you kind of had to, right? Especially being a goalie. I don't know what players do. Goalies are fucking weird to begin with. And I thought I was a normal one, but I didn't think that. So there's so much more goes into it. I don't know what players do, but I'm sure they do the same thing as far as that elite level. Like they got to think about the passes they're making, the goals they're scoring, different things like that.
Yeah, that is really interesting then to think that you would do that for sports and not like being the creator of your life.
Absolutely. Like, I mean,
being so passive in it, right?
Yeah. Like boxing was another big one, right? Like you had your head coach and you had a couple assistants, even like your corner, there's at least 3 or 4 people in your corner. And it just, why we even say that, like, I'm in your corner, I got your back for different things. And yet we try to do so much on our own. It doesn't work.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, then I'm excited to ask you my questions because I didn't even think of that take that you just shared. So, okay. Question number 1. What made you realize that you personally needed to change?
Big one came from you, like from our relationship, in the sense of when you were getting help or you were talking to counselors, right? Is that who you were talking to when you first?
I was working with counselor coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hybrid of both.
So once that started happening, and then we were literally, or you were gearing up to leave, essentially, or not leave, but like we're gonna get a divorce, right? And just seeing that, and I can't remember where I heard it, but just like get on board or get the fuck out of the way. And I keep saying that to people now all the time, right? But that one stuck on with me because I was noticing these changes in you, and I like you say, we were gearing up, like we were getting your vehicle, we were getting, like, we didn't have kids, so it wasn't
I was getting myself a vehicle.
I say we, like it was,
I was becoming a strong, independent woman.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, and everything, right? Like it was amicable, whatever you call that. I don't know the word.
Amicable?
Yeah, like it wasn't like a shotgun like divorce or like really dragged through the mud or anything. Like we were trying to figure out just get things organized, right? And then in that time, I seen these changes, and I had to do a lot of just like sitting there and like looking in the mirror of like what am I doing? Like is this going to be my life? And seeing the changes in you, and then just seeing the confidence you had, and I was like, hey, well, I need to be with this woman. This is my woman. I'm going to be with her. I'm not going to lose it to this. Like I don't want to give up. So it was all baby steps, really, for sure. But at the same time, that was really the catalyst to. I was always like doing things, listening to things, whatever. But that was really the catalyst to like, okay, you got to fucking change, right?
Take it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And like for me, obviously, the big crutch was alcohol, right? So I had to start to get that under wraps, or not under wraps, but just get it under control and figure out what that looked like. And that was getting help. Like I had to go to AA, and that was one of the big. It was in that time too, I believe, or I think, right?
Yeah, it's
Was
all a
it
little
after?
blurry now because it
Yeah.
was so long ago. But yeah, I think
Like
it
it
was all
was.
around that time. Yeah.
So that was like a big one of putting my ego aside, and like that, it takes it's a big hit. Anyone that's been to an AA meeting is like, you go there and you're like, okay, myself anyway, I thought I was like, okay, these are not my people, but you get there and you start telling your story like, fuck, these are my people. It was just like, this is me now. And so that was a bit of an ego hit, but at the same time it was good. I needed that, right? I really need that kick in the gut of like, hey, this is what you are. This is what all the decisions I made prior, this is what that led to. And this is what I have to do to start unraveling that and figuring that out. So going to AA was a big one, but I guess you wrap that up into just asking for help, and you really just asked for help, right? And that was kind of the catalyst behind it.
So, I mean, ultimately, you wouldn't say that you hit rock bottom because I mean, like there would be multiple levels of what a person could consider to be rock bottom. But did you consider that was a pretty rock bottom that you had reached in your life?
It was a pretty low one. Like, I mean, that was because I tried to take the pussy way out. I think I told that story on this, where I went to an Al-Anon meeting first.
Oh yeah.
And then a bit of not a rock bottom, but another good kick in the gut was like, I started talking there, and then they're like, two guys got up and they're like, no, come with us. And they like led me down a fucking church hallway into the AA meeting. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
so that was not cool.
Al-Anon is for like family members
Yeah.
of people who drink too much. Yeah.
Oh, it was, I don't know what I was trying to do there. But again, I was fighting that tooth and nail as long as I could, right? And even with us, because you were always bringing it up to like, we should go to counseling, we should talk to someone, do something. You know, I would slough that off completely. Like, that ain't happening, right?
Yeah, you were like, just to kind of draw a picture for people listening, you were like hardcore against any form of help. Like the resistance was strong.
Oh yeah. Because I knew, like, I say I'm not dumb. On paper it might be something different. But like I knew innately, like I had to look in the mirror and those were all coming back to me.
Yeah, it was totally just a rejection.
Absolutely. Like
and a reflection from reflection. Yeah, I'm thinking like a goalie reflection, like deflection. That's what I'm thinking of. That was like a deflection from you having to look at yourself.
Absolutely. Like I knew what was going to come, and I knew I had to make changes and things like that, right? So I knew that was all part of it. So I fought that tooth and nail.
And then, so I guess I was
yeah, you were. Like, I was
the dumb one because I kept falling for it.
Oh, that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, until all of a sudden I was done falling for it.
Well, yeah, you hit that point too, right? And you're like, fuck this. You seen your worth, right?
Yeah. But I think ultimately, like, I guess there will be men who have to reach some form of low or rock bottom in their life for them to take a look at themselves. But I think, what you're doing in your work is to encourage men to look in the mirror and make changes before they hit that point.
It is. And it's really nice to have someone, again, like that boxing out in your corner. So then we can talk and we can bounce ideas off each other. And it's from a place of, well, one, it's like place of love and a place of respect, but I've been there in most cases. I've I'm extremely fortunate in my life. Like I've had so many experiences and got to do so many different things, and especially with you, right? Like we traveled the world together. Like we've done so many different things together. But like leading up to, I've done so many different sports and rodeo and fighting and like all these different things that have given me so much experience. And I got to meet so many different people, and being smart enough to realize like, hey, I got to take from these people like what I can and learn from all these different people and
Mm-hmm.
different experiences. So that equates a lot to most men. Like I've been in most situations, so nothing really, especially me, like nothing makes me blush, right? Like and talk about anything. But I mean, I've been in mud hole for a long time, like been in mud holes, like pouring concrete, or then I've been in the boardrooms planning those jobs, right? And I've got to see, that's just, I guess, just one analogy, but it's been that whole thing,
Like from
right?
one spectrum to another.
Yeah. So I'm very fortunate in that. So I have a lot of, I can connect a lot with people, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
growing up on a farm and doing those things, right? And working and just, there's so much to connect with.
Mm-hmm.
So getting that from a person that's not just going to sit there and like tell you what to do or think they're better than you, or like definitely meeting people. I meet all the men at like the same level, right? We're all equal.
Yeah, and I think a big thing with coaching, at least what I've learned with women for sure too, is that you didn't just like read it in a book and sharing an analogy with someone or like some form of knowledge you have. It's like I've actually been in that circumstance or experienced something very similar, right? So you can relate and be very helpful in moving through shit.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, other question. What daily practices do you do to keep on track?
Right. So I'm in a group coaching program right now, and they're really big on bookends. So like start of the day, end of the day. Those are the things that you can control. What happens during the day is kind of whatever, right? That's all minutia. But start of the day for me, I typically wake up with Lennox, right? So my morning is fairly chill, but I wake up with affirmations of there's always enough and I am enough. And I say that over and over. Just say it over and over in my head. And then when I get downstairs with Lennox, I usually just hang on the couch with him and like I'll just say that, and occasionally like he'll say it, but I'm just saying that a little bit in the morning, not constant for like 5 minutes or whatever, right? Just to get my, I used to always start the day with like, oh fuck, here we go again, like
Mm-hmm.
tying my work boots or whatever, right? So it's a really good switch of doing that and starting positive. As far as any kind of activities or anything, I don't do like that whole hustle like in the morning, get all my stuff done, because Lennox and I's time. So we just hang out in the morning generally, like get them fed, just chill. I'm very fortunate to get to hang out with my son in the morning. So I mean, for me, that is super calming and just great. I love it, right? But most of my work is done in the evening. So like I have I work out during the day, so I'll lift weights during the day, but in the evening I got a practice of just 50 burpees every night. So I've been doing that for, I don't know how long it's been now. It's been a while.
Since February 20th.
Since February 20th, right? So it's been going good, and it's almost like it is a habit. Like I'll do it at 10 o'clock at night, right? And it's this quick 3-4 minutes and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm extremely proud of myself when I do that. And I can't not do that now. Like it's just part of my routine.
Yeah.
And there's something in that for me. Like I've done, I guess if you followed us, like we have always tried like those 300 burpees, kept trying to do that for 18 minutes, right? Forever, and doing different things. And burpees has always been a part of life, or part of like this physical thing for me. But I think because it's so fucking hard.
Yeah.
And everyone always asks me like, oh, you like burpees? I'm like, no, I don't. I hate fucking burpees. But it's just like that thing that pushes me. And it's like one of the harder things. But somewhere in those, it's like a nice, for me anyway, it's like really calming, and there's like a meditation, or I get thinking of something and then it makes everything go by quite quickly, and you're just up and down, up and down, up and down, right? So I do 50 burpees, and then I journal. So again, that was really brought on from this group program I'm in, where break it into energy, how I felt during the day and like how I want to model the next day, work, things I did for work, and then love. So love is like family, you, anything like that, right? So then I journal on all those topics for different things, and that's a great way to just kind of end the day and kind of reflect on the day. I really like that. And then I do a meditation. I got about a 15-minute meditation that's typically, it's kind of based around gratitude for the most part. So that's where I live a lot in, is just gratitude for everything I have. especially my family, like you, um, just everything in my life. Extremely grateful to it all, right? So those are the things I do to keep. Those are the staples. Those are things that don't move. Those are, and then I also do a to-do list at the end of that day, or at the end of the day for my next day. So I do a to-do list. That's just fairly recent. I've started doing that because I've noticed myself knowing what to do, but not knowing, like knowing what to do the next day, but then not really prioritizing anything. So then making a list, prioritize it, and get those things done.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel accomplished, and then on to the next day, and so on and so on, right? So
Mm-hmm.
those are the big staples. And then, like I say, working out's a big one. Eating properly is another big thing in my life. I guess we can talk about that in a little bit, but just all those things have really made some big changes.
So, I mean, essentially what I'm kind of hearing you saying is that they're small changes, like minor changes. They do take time, but they don't just like consume your whole life and your whole day. And you're not like, diving into your past and needing to heal all this and talk about this and do all that. It's like being accountable to yourself and being integral with yourself and setting up small things throughout your day in order for you to do that.
Absolutely. And before, always in my head, it was like, oh, this is so much work. I just want to sit on the couch and watch TV. But then it gets into Groundhog Day, and you're just constantly sitting, going to work, sitting on the couch, going to work, sitting on the couch. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing with your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Well, the rest of your life is like falling apart.
yeah. And then you just slough that off, and like, oh, I just got to get to Friday and get to Saturday. And then Saturday comes, you don't enjoy it because you're stressed about what happened last week, or you're stressed about what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just living that, right? So that literally takes, what I say, that's 15, 5. So that's like 45 minutes in the evening, like one episode of whatever show you're watching.
Mm-hmm.
And that seriously finishes off a day great, and it sets up your next day beautifully. So it's like, you have to do those things. Those are just non-negotiables. And I always knew about them and like dabbled here and there. But now that I'm really in them and do them, I really do notice a big impact on my life.
And in how you feel.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then obviously how you feel determines the choices you make and how you show up for people you love and all of that kind of stuff.
It does. That's massive for how I feel. Like it's funny. There's like, if I'm feeling good, I will make that little conversation in my head of like eating those chips, or, like grabbing that chocolate bar, or buying those things. I'll make that decision. Like, but if I'm feeling good and feeling happy and feeling fit and just everything's going well, I'm just like, nah, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it stops you from spiraling down.
Yeah,
So,
it's
because
crazy.
then you buy chips and then you eat chips and then you watch TV and then you stay up till 2 and then you wake up feeling shitty.
Oh yeah.
And then you snap at your kid because you're up early with him. And I'm not saying like you do this.
Well, no, you just nailed that.
Right?
That's what I did though. That's exactly what would happen.
Yeah.
100%. Stay
Yeah.
up till 2 because that's my me time, but then it gets nothing done.
Yeah.
It
Oh, yeah,
doesn't work.
because you make sure you're in bed by like 10:30 now too, right?
Yeah, in bed, at least reading or doing something, but in bed, not
Doing something.
Yeah, hey, we're explicit show. It's fine. 100%, right? Oh, you're pregnant too, hey? But yeah, exactly. Like being in bed, not sitting on the couch, just doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that does totally make sense. I was wondering, this is making me think because I think a lot of men shy away from doing work as well because like they feel like, oh, I have to talk about my emotions or even like tune into my emotions, and like I'm not cool for that. But everything you just explained wasn't even really about emotions. But do you like deal with your emotions, or like if things come up that you work on from your past, or does that just sort of happen naturally through being integral with yourself, and then you kind of like notice when things come up and you might spend some time in it if that's in the moment, but it's not like you're just focusing solely on like bringing up all your shit from the past.
Yeah, no, well, you nailed it, especially for men, right? Like I know for most men, when you're doing the work, you're moving your body, you're feeling that accomplishment, you're being integral to yourself. Most things will take care, like most things will just fade away and take care of themselves, and you're being that man you're supposed to be. But I'm very fortunate too that I took training on, we can deep dive in if there's always or if there's sticking points, we can dive into like there's some childhood, like we can talk about or childhood, we can talk about decision making, like we can sit there and have a conversation on both ends of the decision making matrix, like with yourself though. Like it's not hypnotism by any means, but it just, you get into a bit of a headspace where you can think back on your childhood, and we can start to draw out some of those issues, and don't have to talk about them. We don't have to beat them to death, but we can kind of draw them out and just let them kind of fizzle away, or let them, we can be like shine a light on them essentially and just get rid of them, if that makes sense. So, I mean, there is some emotional work for sure, but at the same time, you're doing all those other steps that make you strong enough, I should say, that when you do the emotional work, it's not going to sit you on your ass.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, that leads into the other question that I had about, you talk a lot about masculinity. What does that mean to you?
Masculinity. Well, I was fortunate because I had my dad modeled it really well, but he modeled, funny, we're talking about emotions. Like he modeled the whole, work fucking hard. Right. And keep the family afloat. I don't know what happened between my mom and dad. I know it wasn't a great relationship by any means, or I shouldn't say that. I don't know, but it didn't, from my point of view. Not what I have with you anyway. I'm not they weren't that lucky, but I seen the work hard, the fucking tough guy, his hands were just I don't even know what they're just slabs of leather. So he worked early in the morning and late at night, right? He did everything. So I seen that part, and he modeled that man to me, which is great to see that. But I don't know any of the emotional side of that. I know he's a really nice guy. I knew things like that, but I don't know anything else. So I had that model to me, but masculinity is so much more. So you have all that hard work, be that tough guy, hunting, fishing, build shit, everything like that. I'm really big on that. And that's provide, protect. That for me, that's masculinity. But at the same time, being in touch with your emotions to be able to handle those situations, or to be able to handle people and not let them affect you, which used to be a big one for me. People could throw me off quite easily, right? And I would try to get confrontational, or it would get me off my mind. I was easily affected by other people. So now to be a strong masculine in my head is I'm so strong in my own convictions and in my own frame in my life that people outside noises don't really affect me anymore, which is huge, because then I'm good for you and I'm good for Lennox. And I say that all the time to you. That's all that fucking matters in my head, is this house, is protecting you, protecting Lennox, providing for you guys, and being present for you guys. So if I'm that, then I'm fine. And I'm more than happy in my masculinity. But then I do all that. And then on the outside, I get to have so many great conversations with people, because all these other men want to know, hey, how are you doing that? Why you feel so good? Why are you laughing? Why are you feeling so good? Right. And they want some of that. So it's okay, you take care of yourself, you take care of your family, you're going to feel fucking good. And then everything else is easier.
Yeah. Everything falls into place. I know one of the things that we had talked about quite a bit too was what you'll notice in the personal development field for men is there's either this really strong pull to the far side of really diving into emotions and healing and spirituality and all of that kind of stuff, or else you have the really tough men, hard tough men, like you were saying before. But what you kind of do is sort of bridge the two together, right? You noticed that the two into the emotions is kind of would I be right to say more weak men, even though they're becoming really in tune with their emotions and being very vulnerable? They're not the strong men. But then on the other side of the extreme spectrum is really strong men who aren't emotionally strong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, you nailed it.
But it's bringing that gap together to be a strong provider, all of those things you just said, but then being in tune with your emotions.
Yeah. For me, that's the perfect mix, right? Because being too far one way, or being, like you say, a little bit weaker, just a little bit, whatever that is. But when you go too far one way, that's fine to be emotional and be even emotionally available for your woman, and be emotionally available for all these other people. But at the same time, you're not going to protect anything, right? When push comes to shove, odds are you're not the person that I want with me, protecting me, right? So you have to find that line between that And then like you just said, you can't be too hard and just shut off. So where you're not emotionally available for your kids, you're not available emotionally for your wife, like all these things, right? You have to find that common ground. And I think too, I don't know, I can't speak for women, but you go one way, and I feel like a lot of women want that very emotional guy because they've been so used to that shut off guy, but then they get that very emotional guy and just instincts kick in, and after a while it's like, holy fuck.
Yeah, I'm not your mother or your
No,
therapist.
exactly, right? And like,
Yeah.
I have enough girlfriends, I don't need you too, kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it can go too far, but then they go like, then they probably teeter totter a bit, because then you go back to a hard guy, which is great for a while, but then that fizzles out too, because you just want to be, you need that space, or you need someone to hold a container for you, and they, like, most men can't do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I get into a lot with men, at least on the relationship side, is just being able to hold that space for you. And when you say hold space, sounds fucking airy fairy, but just be there, like learn to listen. I have a lot of tools and tricks on like how to listen properly, and not trying to
Be
interject.
present.
Yeah, you just be very present, not have to fix problems. And I mean, if problems arise, you can fix them if that's what the fix is going to be. But if not, you just have to listen and take that in and be there for the person.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I could clarify that as being a woman, that I do appreciate that. Like, yes, if you were like having a girl, if you were like another one of my girlfriends that just shared all your problems with, I wouldn't feel safe with you. And I want to feel safe with you. So there is that fine line between like, I want you to show me that you have feelings and that like you're a human and that you let me in, because I'm a nurturer and I want to like take care of your heart. So when you can let me in, that makes me feel good. But then yet at the same time, yeah, like I want to know that you can protect, you can provide, you can like get shit done, set goals, be motivated, right? So, yeah, I totally like
Yeah,
agree.
and that's what most men are missing now, because we don't have those hunting tribes. We don't have those groups of men. Most of us don't have like mentors or older mentors that we talk to on a regular basis. So a lot of men lost that, and they confide now, which is fine to confide in your wife, and that's what you're supposed to do. But there's a fine line between like just spewing out all your problems and all your insecurities on your wife. That is not good, and that she doesn't want to hear that shit, and it's not going to help it's not going to help your fucking sex life. It's not going to help respect levels. It's not going to help anything. So that's another thing with coaching, especially with men. If you're coaching with another man, that's that sounding board that you can talk to some of those insecurities, so you can get that stuff off your chest. And like I said, I've been in most of those situations where we can talk it out, and generally those problems aren't as big as they are in your head, right? So
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think too, if you're trying to have certain conversations about yourself too with your wife, she has an emotional attachment to like an outcome or to you. And so you're not going to get the same advice either as you're going to get from a man who's going to like respect you, but also like maybe give you like a slap and be like, dude, like pick your shit up, like get your shit together, right?
that's a big
And
one.
call
Yeah.
you out
Yeah.
versus like if I did that to you, it would probably, maybe not now. Well, you wouldn't do that to me now, but let's say like you did, and then I like told you what you had to do. Like clearly that doesn't make you feel like a man.
No,
right?
all that we talk about
Yeah.
polarity is just like fucking out the window, right?
Fizzled,
It's just
yeah.
gone. No,
Yeah.
and you nailed it, right? Like I'm there, definitely love, definitely respect, but at the same time, I'm kind of impartial. Like I don't, it doesn't really affect me. I don't have an emotional outcome to that, right?
Mhm.
Like you just said with if you're talking with your wife.
Mhm.
So I mean, I would definitely be that like teller of truth, kick in the ass at times when it's
Yeah,
needed,
like
right?
some hard love.
Yeah.
Um, what is that? That's saying iron sharpens iron. Is that
There's a lot of stuff like with
something like
men
that?
in men's work. Yeah, a lot of guys talk
Yeah,
about
okay.
that.
Okay. I thought I heard that phrase before. Okay, next question. If you can give men listening one piece of advice, what would it be?
Take care of your body. Take care of your body is a big one, because when you have your body, your mind's clearer. So then you can get into the mind work. But when you have your body, like your confidence is going to be higher. Your sex appeal is going to be higher. Your, like I say, just self-confidence is going to be a lot higher. And then that makes everything else easier. It'll make work easier. It'll make keep doing whatever you're doing to keep that body. It'll make that easier because you're looking in the mirror and you're seeing changes. But like I say, it makes, once your body's where you want it to, not even where you want it to be, but once your body's good, it makes your mind a lot clearer, and then you can start to work on emotions. You can start digging into some of that stuff of like why you act the way you act and why you get the outcomes that you get, right? So then it's a great way to open up. But body is a huge one because, like I say, at least confidence, and you get people looking at you, get like, remember, like opposite sex looking at you. It's not like you're going to act on any of this stuff, and you get your wife looking at you again, but it just fucking feels good. Like there's no better feeling than that.
Well, and could you say that viewing changes in your body is like physical evidence that something is changing? Because you can't always like really calculate the change that's happening in your mindset, right? Especially because you're in your mind 24/7. So even if something did seem different than last week, you're not going to notice it as much as like you'll notice a few pounds on the scale, or your shoulders are broader, or whatever dudes look for in the mirror.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Okay.
No, that makes tons of sense the way you put that. But it is, right? And it absolutely is. It's a great measuring stick because you can't do that stuff mentally, right? So no, that's big. And then depending who you talk to or depending what you read, I know a lot of people hold emotions in their body. A lot of people store those emotions in their fat. So once that fat starts to melt away, you don't have to dig in to do all this fucking crazy deep mind shock work. It just kind of goes away too, like burns with the fat, right?
Yeah, well, and I'm really big on energy, right? And the energy is emotions is no, sorry, energy. Oh my gosh. Why am I totally botching this?
It's because you're making another person, as I
my
always
brain
hear.
cells are going to the human in my belly. Emotions are energy in motion. So, like you just said, if emotions are stuck in our bodies, when you're moving your body, it is therapy without having to talk about it, like what you just said, but you're moving that energy through your body, you're moving those blocks through your body. And I just don't think that enough people really like consider that. It's just like more of a vein, like, oh, I'm looking good.
Yeah, no,
but there's a lot happening on cellular levels when that's going on.
Absolutely. There's tons behind that. But again, just to, like body is big.
And shifts your vibration, which shifts your frequency, which like you said, confidence, and like people are attracted to you, but even like people want to be around you because your energy is different too. So
yeah. And again, I've been on both sides of it. And so I know what it feels like to be in fat, and it just like, it's so easy to spiral, and it's just easy to stay there. Cause then you're not like, you feel like there's no way out. So you're just like, I'm fat. So I might as well just eat. I might as well do nothing. Right. And then, again, you just start turning into this puddle on the couch, and like, you look over and like, I wouldn't want to fuck me. So like, why would my wife want to touch me? Right. And then you start getting resentment there, and it just builds and builds and builds and just spirals out of control.
Yeah. I feel like there's like a ton we could talk about on that, but obviously we'll come back to that sometime. A couple more questions for you. How has fitness, or like your body, self-care made the changes easier? You already covered that.
Yeah, I guess we just did, right?
Unless there was something else you wanted to add to that.
No, I don't. Well, it kind of, no, it's just confidence again. And like I said, if your body's right, your mind's right. And maybe like you'll have work to do, but it's easier. It's definitely easier to do when you get your body in shape.
Yeah, because I'm just sitting over here thinking, well, I could argue that with you, because there's like, I know people who have lost lots of weight who then still have like a fat mindset, and think like, when I say a fat person, like think when they were bigger, right? And I've actually heard those words come out of their mouth. Like, I think like a fat person. I think like the fat me, the fat version of me. And I never really thought of that. But so there is always like mindset work to be done. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to work out and get a rock hard body, and then all my problems in my life will fade away. There's clearly mindset work. But what I hear you saying is that that's the first step that will begin spiraling you in the direction that you want to go. And then the mindset work will pick up and follow with it. And the emotional work will come with it. And it all kind of starts to come together.
Yeah, absolutely. Like what you talked about, like I was me, still me, right? You look in the mirror and I just see what I used to see. Like even in London, like I was rocking fucking 6-pack and still just felt fat, right? Or like could see fat in my mind.
Yeah.
But then you look at pictures and you're like, oh shit, look pretty good. But when you're looking in the mirror, it's just like what I'm so used to seeing. But yeah, you nailed it. And especially for men, again, I can only speak to men on the fitness side, is it's very measurable and there's outcomes. And there's goals, like you can set milestones and goals and you hit those goals. And there's like, you set something, you want to do it. There's an objective, a mission, and then you get it and you accomplish that mission. Then you make another one, you go to that one.
And that builds your confidence alone.
Absolutely.
Like,
but it's just very, it's very linear, right? So for men, it's like, we need a purpose, and that could be the purpose, right?
Yeah.
So you're not, your mind's right. And you just have that, end goal.
Yeah. Okay. That totally makes sense. How do your days feel now that you're more aware of your feelings and emotions?
Good. No, it's nice. I think we kind of touched on it a little bit too. Is just people in my life now. I realize, like, I'm smart enough to realize that way I feel affects other people, and the way I show up affects other people. So that affects Lennox a lot. I've noticed that these last 6 months of getting to really spend some quality time with him, be extremely present. I don't have all that other shit now in the back of my mind worrying about, fucking front of my mind worrying me, right? So I'm extremely present with him, and I'm not short with him. And it's so much nicer. It makes me feel so much better because like I'm way more controlled and don't just snap at him for fucking for outrageous reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's getting the benefits of that, which is great, and that makes me feel awesome. And it's same with you. I'm a lot more. I can be present with you a lot more, and just like I say, give you that container, give you that safe space to just open up and just be. And I'm okay. Like, I don't got fucking, where am I going to go? Right. Like, I got nowhere to be. I got nothing stressing me out. I got no anxiety that's fucking killing me. So like, I can be here for you, listening to you and just taking you in and doing whatever we have to do to break through things. Right. So just showing up for other people is what is the big thing for me now. Now that again, it's not like my emotions I'm still a roller coaster and I'm still all over the place at times, right? But I'm smart enough to realize that like the way I show up for people, and it just makes me feel great to be able to do that.
And would you not say that, because I've heard you say this before, that then like because you're more present with the practices that you do during the daytime, that you're more aware of the emotions and the feelings that come up, and then not identifying them. They're not identifying yourself with them. So like those emotions and those feelings aren't who you are, which then can spiral you into like all sorts of messed up mind things in relationships and careers and money and all of that stuff. So you don't like, you just feel them and it's like, yeah, okay, I'm witnessing this, let that go. But also you're present enough too to not like spiral down that. And you already mentioned that with like buying the junk food. And so you can make more conscious decisions being like, well, this is based on a feeling because you're not trying to numb out, to avoid, to run away from things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And hit them head on. You nailed it. So you're not stuck in those feelings all the time. Same with relationship, right? Where it's not the same pattern of like, oh, whatever it is, we might argue or we might not, whatever happens, right? There's something like some sort of conflict there. And typically I would just shut down and we wouldn't talk about it for 2-3 days. And then it would just kind of go away. It wouldn't go away, but it was just,
yeah, it always builds.
We had to start life up again, right? Or had to like keep life moving. Whereas now that shit still happens. It's not like the stuff doesn't happen, but it can sit there and be with it for whatever, a few minutes, an hour, whatever that is. But then when we're going to hit it head on and we talk about it, we clear that space and we have that talk and then that's fine, right? You still feel it and you still do that, but it's not going to knock us down for 2-3 days. It's going to be a couple hours and we're going to get through whatever it is, but then it's done.
Yeah. And I would say I noticed that within you specifically too. Like if something is bothering you, you have so many tools that like, you're like, I'll go do my burpees or I'll go do my journaling or I'll go do whatever, where you catch yourself and not, again, like I said, spiraling like for days or weeks or then falling down a trap of stopping your habits and then, just gaining weight and eating chips and staying up late, right?
Oh, it's a fucking vicious cycle. You can write it.
It happens fast.
Yeah, it's bad.
Okay, last question I have for you. What can men expect when they work with you?
Again, we touched on it a bit. It's just like accountability for sure. When we're working together, like you definitely set goals and we set different milestones that we want to hit. So I'm there to be accountable for that. And then if it's not on the call, like there's Voxer, which you introduced me to. So like Voxer between calls, just being accountable, or when shit pops up, it's always there. So
Which
it's how,
Voxer is like a in real time kind of walkie-talkie voice or texting messenger thing on your phone.
yeah, exactly. Right. So there's always that communication line's open. And then again, we touched on it a bit with the tools, right? So I got so many tools now built up, so many different modalities of routes we can go down. So when things do pop up, just having a bullshit conversation, we can do that and figure out the best way. We can route a way to get the outcome that we want. So all these different tools now, like whether it be with like fitness or mindset or relationship is another one that I've definitely grown that tool chest. It's amazing now. So there's really nothing that we can't figure out together when I work with men. So it's really nice to have all that at my disposal. And then obviously that's what the men get, right? So it's great. So accountability, accountability is a big one, and it helps a lot with the mindset of a man for their integrity. So once you have your integrity as a man, I feel like that's fucking huge milestone. Once you have that with yourself, and then you get it with other, like have that for your family, it's massive. That just sets you free for so many things. Because that's what used to make me feel like shit all the time. I'd make these choices or make these promises to myself, not even put them out to the world, and then I wouldn't keep them. And I was just breaking this integrity with myself and just made myself feel more and more like a piece of shit. And then I wasn't bringing that to family. I wasn't bringing it to anything.
As a partner, you just come to expect that, right? Too, that there is no integrity there, like just waiting for that shoe to drop or waiting till you'll stop doing that or whatever, right? And it's just such a ebb and flow, but like extreme ebbs and flows. Or I always talk with my clients about like a pendulum swinging, like banging from side to side. Like you don't want to live your life like that. Yes, there's things that happen and you can't always be in control of everything, but you can be in control of you and how you respond to them. So that pendulum can be a little more like gliding in the midstream instead of like pounding against each wall, right? Based upon everything that you just said.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess the last thing was just being that voice, right? To or be that sounding board a bit, and then be that person that out of love and respect, but can give you that kick in the ass when it's needed.
Yeah, because ultimately at the end of the day, you're just caught in your own shit. It's all an illusion. It's all based on your perspective. And so I think a lot of us don't realize when we're navigating this all alone, or like think we're alone, how easy, not always like easy, but simply it can shift with the right support and the right tools, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And like we're all just struggling in our own shit and like dying a little bit inside when like it doesn't have to be that way. Like reaching out for help and changing a few things can make such a huge difference in your life.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly it.
Cool. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else that you want to add, then I mean, where can people find you?
No, that's awesome. Revivecouple.com. You can go there. Instagram is probably the easiest right now. We're definitely, that's where I'm spending most of my time, on Instagram. So you can direct message on that, or go to the link tree, and there's actually or go to the link in the bio, and there's a tab to apply to work with me. You just click that tab. There's a little bit of a questionnaire, and then we can hook up from that.
Yeah, and they can get there at revivedcouple.com as well.
Yeah, it's on there too, yeah.
Multiple ways to find you.
Yes, very easy to find me. So like I say, spending most time on Instagram, but wherever.
Cool. Okay, well, thank you for sharing. I feel like I learned stuff about you. I didn't know you did affirmations in the morning. Sexy.
Hey, I'm a man of mystery. No, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. We love you.
Thank you.
We love you.
Love you too. Thanks for listening. Check out our offerings on social media at The Revived Couple and online at therevivedcouple.com. Have a request for a show topic? We love that. Send us an email at michael@larocklife.com or DM at The Revived Couple.
And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review.